Welcome to One Man's Tracks, the second-hand music channel. I've just discovered yet another eclectic, prolific, and progressive electronica outfit from the UK. This one's called Eat Static, and I'm here today to talk a little bit about the history of the band, its influences, the pioneering of new sounds, as well as some of the life of the man who has stuck with this group for nearly 35 years now. His name is Merv. Born in Somerset, England in the mid-60s, Merv's musical journey began at a young age, getting a drum kit to play along with his punk rock LPs. It would sort of coincide with his extraterrestrial fascinations, being born in that UFO hotspot. He would get to visit crop circles with his classmates. He would join a band in high school, play guitar and sing until he lost his left index finger, or most of it, to a hydraulic press in an accident at his father's engineering factory. That would shift him back towards the drums, where he would play with a friend's psychobilly punk group called The Funeral Party, and they would tour a little bit in the 80s. By the late 80s, that band would evolve into Wooden Baby, this guitar-y, punky goth band with keyboards, drum machines, and samplers. They released 3 self-released cassettes from 88 to 90, and during that time, Merv had auditioned and joined the famed psychedelic progressive rock group, the Tentacles, whose members Ed and Joey had contributed to that final Wooden Baby release. His friendship with the keyboardist Joey Hinton would grow even stronger due to their shared passion in the growing local rave scene, sci-fi movies, psychedelics, silly synth sounds, world music, and aliens. And with a guy called Steve Everett, they'd come together, gather some keyboard samplers and drum machines, and put together one of the UK's very first ever live techno acts called Eat Static in 1990. They'd actually originally conceived it as a more bandy, Wooden Baby type project, but when they got together for their first session and they crafted this sort of Dusseldorf school-style dance cut and had a lot of fun doing it, they realized they would just follow their electronica acid house whims to whichever way they felt, and that led to them coming up alongside the likes of Aphex Twin, Orbital, and Underworld as they stretched these synthetic psychedelic sonics to new creative heights. Merv and Joey would remain with the Osricks up until 1994, performing simultaneously in both bands until the point that Eat Static got kind of equal in popularity, when their album charted just 2 spots below Jurassic Shift in 1994. They realized they could go all in with their trancey, spacey sounds, and I was lucky enough to stumble upon that very album. This right here, released in June of 1993 through Planet Dogs and Ultimate Records. I think it's technically their second album, but some still consider it their debut. This is Abduction by Eat Static. 71 minutes of soaring, moving psytrance bangers that wash over you, crafting this futuristic vision of dance music. Never afraid to fuse styles, letting their worldly influence bleed into each and every corner of their mixes, from African, East Indian, Asian, European, techno and house, drum and bass, this underlying low-key ambient groove that perpetuates the whole thing and gives it an extra layer of atmosphere. It's kind of another one of those genre-defying projects for you here. That diversity lends itself to these thoughtful, drawn-out club hits that rarely get too repetitive or feel boring. They complete this great arc and then lead you fairly seamlessly into the following tracks. It's brilliant, forward-thinking IDM that's energized by the band's passion and desire for new sounds. It's re-listenable, and these goofy sci-fi samples that they sprinkle in add a lot of personality and give the project some levity too. Abduction is an album that enriches, enhances, and enchants. It's an enthralling, otherworldly, electronic dance endeavor that has engaging tracks whose bassy hits and psychedelic, trancey melodies that will grab hold of you and not lose their grip from intro to outro. It is a lot to go over, and I'll do my best to keep the summaries brief, but each one of these tracks does still have its own unique style and arc, even with this somewhat mirrored track list that this album has. So if you will now, let me take a few minutes to go over the songs that make up this immersive and cerebral dance CD. Starting out with the Terrence McKenna sample on the over 7-minute opener. It's titled Prana, or Breath in English. It's a mid-tempo, trancey cut that's super vast. It's got this emerging deep bass line that builds up underneath the floating introduction, these fleeting Middle Eastern vocal samples, these muezzin wails that are complemented beautifully by shimmering synth lines. This track just does so well to encircle the listener and build them up for the upcoming futuristic flying saucer ride. Droning into Gulf Breeze that picks up the pace, adds a little more energy, but ultimately the beat just feels a little rudimentary. The progression is a little bit too slow, even a little predictable, especially for Eat Static standards, and it tends to feel even longer than the opener, even though it's a minute shorter. It's an odd number, and it's kind of one of the very few points where this album does falter a bit. That's a short-lived sentiment, with Kalika coming in, returning to a more spacey introduction that kind of drifts into a tribal sort of vibe. It kind of pulls it from outer space to like a Saharan Bohemia with nice ebbs and flows to keep it dynamic enough to stay interesting and somewhat boundless. I find the futuristic openings from the first few minutes of most of these songs so effective at getting me curious about what's to come, and Splitting Worlds is reverberating, building, psychedelic intro is the best one on here for my money. This multi-phase, sample-spattered house track with a borderline jungle beat is an absolute blast. I get Star Wars rave vibes from the track Kinetic Flow. It's mostly carried by this groovy synth melody. It has this relentless laser sound and these somewhat messy sci-fi effects thrown in there. At some points it's a little bit grating, but at other points I find it quite complimentary. Settling into the slower, more ambient center of this project with Forgotten Rights, a particularly spaced out track with this Afrobeat swell slowly, steadily encroaching over this vibrating vuvuzela didgeridoo type instrument. Even with its lower key momentum, this song is foreboding and quite compelling. Now for the title track, whose first few minutes has this eerie, edge-of-your-seat UFO ambiance where you're kind of afraid and eventually get a little bit of separation with the beat that comes in, but it's just running from something you can't escape from. You try to catch your breath and these fun, scratchy theremin effects come in and chase you down. This is just another fascinating and unique number. You get beamed right back down to earth for Intruder, a simple but great drum and bass dance song with a sense of urgency behind it. Then the second to last song is unfortunately reflective of the second song's somewhat blander sensations, but at least this time there's this trippy uneasiness to this pretty cut and dry house track called Xenomorph. Inner Peace wastes no time diving into a cut with some similarities to the opener Prana, but further diversifying their sonic palette with these fantastic, worldly, manipulated samples and Eat Static's otherworldly, synthetic harmonies and atmosphere that just all comes together and loops pretty nicely back around to that starting track, which creates this sort of endless Morbius strip of psytrance that I'd be a little bit worried I'd get trapped in if there wasn't so much additional static to consume out there already. Spurred forth by the expanding possibilities of emerging technologies and the excitement of discovering new sounds, Merv and Joey produced a torrent of eclectic, progressive electronic records up until 2008 when Joey left the group to be part of his family, leaving Merv alone to carry this Eat Static torch for the past 14 years. I mentioned a guy named Steve earlier who was also in the group for at least a few more years after Abduction. He officially left in '97 but has helped play minor roles in the studio for many of Eat Static's releases since then. There are 10 other LPs from Eat Static, I believe, in addition to this one, and many singles, EPs, remixes to get into. I've linked their channel down in the description with all those playlists you can get into if you're looking for more Eat Static. There's also a number of side projects that Merv's worked on over the years that I need to get into still. I'm excited about, like, the Strontium Dogs with Nectarios. He's got this supernatural jazz project called Dendron. He's got hi-fi companions that he does with Tangerine Dream's Steve Yolif, as well as the flexitones that he does with Will Propellerhead. Merv is a musical maniac and I am loving it. He's got so much to check out. I can't wait to dig a little deeper when I have the time. Let me know some suggestions on what to check out first, how to get into the Osrix, and maybe let me know what you think about Abduction and just Mr. Pepler in general. Let me know what Joey's been up to since he left the band. Have you seen these guys live? How is it? Tell me down in the comments. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And here's a couple more videos I think you'll enjoy based on this. I guess maybe Tangerine Dream and Delirium? Maybe something else. Either way, thank you so much for watching. Take good care, guys. I'll see you next week. Woo!